All right, let's dive into one of the most powerful and honestly, one of the most harrowing poems from the First World War. We're talking about Wilfred Owen's Spring Offensive. It's a journey that takes us right to the very edge of human experience, and it all kicks off with one absolutely chilling line. See what I mean? Owen doesn't mess around. Right out of the gate, he puts us right there with these soldiers. And they're not just on a battlefield, they're standing on the literal and metaphorical edge of existence. Just let that sink in for a moment. This isn't just another hill. For them, it's the end of the world. So you'd think a poem about a battle would start with, explosions and chaos. But Owen does something much more unsettling. He starts with peace. He paints this picture of a moment of rest that is just thick with this unspoken, unbearable dread. And what gives this poem its brutal, honest-to-God power is that Wilfred Owen wasn't just writing about war. He was a soldier. He lived this stuff. Tragically, he was actually killed in action just 1 week before the war ended. So his words, they aren't some distant observation. They're a raw, unflinching report straight from the front lines. Owen pulls us in with this beautiful, almost deceptive imagery. You can practically feel that warm May breeze. You can hear the humming of the insects. It's this perfect, peaceful scene. Life is just humming along, completely unaware that these men are just moments away from being sent to their deaths. But watch how he immediately twists that beautiful image, that summer warmth. It's not just a comfort. He calls it a drug. It's like a narcotic, a temporary shot of morphine to dull the constant physical and mental pain of being a soldier. So this peace they're feeling, it's fragile, it's artificial, and you just know it's about to be shattered. And just like that, the illusion is gone. That peaceful line of grass on the ridge becomes this razor's edge hanging right over their souls. The beautiful sky turns into a mysterious glass, something fragile and threatening, like it's about to break at any second. The tension is just, wow. This really lays out the central conflict of the poem, doesn't it? On one side, you've got nature offering this little bit of comfort, the warm field, the buttercups that blessed their boots. But on the other, you have the brutal reality of war, where even the plants, the brambles, seem to cling to them with sorrow. Every single beautiful image has its own dark, terrifying reflection. All right, so that tense waiting, it's over. The moment is here. But again, Owen completely subverts our expectations. We don't get the heroic bugle call or the rallying cry. No, the order to attack comes as something far, far more chilling. Just look at this progression. It's so unnerving. First, there's total stillness. The men are so quiet they breathe like trees. Then it's not a shout. It's a little word, a whisper that passes through them like a cold gust of wind. And finally, that physical reaction. Every single man, body and soul, tightens up, bracing for impact. It's so quiet, and that makes it utterly terrifying. And this is such a crucial point. Owen is actively, deliberately stripping away any romantic idea you might have about war. Forget what you've seen in movies. There are no heroic bugles here, no glorious flags waving. This isn't some grand spectacle. It is a grim, silent, methodical march toward oblivion. Oh man, this is one of the most heartbreaking images in the entire poem. The soldiers look up at the sun, the literal source of all life and warmth, as if they're saying goodbye to a dear friend they know they can never be with again. In that one look, they are turning their backs on life itself. Okay, so with that silent goodbye, they go over the ridge, and now everything changes. The pace of the poem just explodes. The language becomes violent, and the men plunge headfirst into a literal inferno. This one word says it all, doesn't it? The second they crest that hill, any cover, any semblance of safety is just gone. They are completely, utterly, and totally exposed. Instantly, there is no warning, no buildup. That passive, glassy sky from before, now it's an active, furious enemy. It's as if nature itself has turned on them, unleashing an absolute hellstorm of fire and metal. And this is where Owen's imagery gets just unbelievably grotesque. He describes the ground ripped apart by artillery shells, opening up these soft, sudden cups, as if the earth itself is thirsty and is waiting to drink their blood. The very ground they're running on has become a deadly trap, eager to just consume them. This is it. This is the world's edge they were standing on just a few minutes ago. It's a landscape of pure chaos, where men are leaping towards bullets they can't even see, or they're just vaporized by what Owen calls the hot blast of hell's upsurge, or they simply fall away, plunging right past the verge of reality. And then, the chaos dies down. Miraculously, a few of them survive. But the poem's frantic, screaming energy gives way to this stunned, heavy silence and a deeply uncomfortable final question. Owen kind of runs down the list of what happened. Death came in all these different forms, quick, explosive, or just vanishing completely. He even includes that small, comforting idea that maybe God caught them. But then his focus shifts to the very few who rushed straight into that hell and somehow, impossibly, came back. Can you just imagine that return? They're crawling, not walking, slowly, piece by piece, re-entering the world of the living, breathing cool air again, in this state of absolute wonder, just complete disbelief that they could have gone through that and still be alive. And here it is, the poem's devastating final blow. After all that chaos, all the horror, Owen turns to us, the reader, and he asks this question. Why don't the survivors, the ones who witnessed the unthinkable, talk about their friends who didn't make it? And you know what? He offers no easy answer. He just leaves that question hanging there in the air. He suggests that some experiences, the trauma, the loss, the unbelievable guilt of being the one who survived, are simply beyond words. And in the end, it's that silence that becomes the loudest, truest testament to the horror they endure. So, Wilfred Owen's Spring Offensive. It's so much more than just a poem. You could almost call it a piece of evidence. It really documents this massive shift in how we see the world, a shift that was forged in the trenches of World War I. Today, we're going to break down this masterpiece to understand how Owen took one of our most comforting ideas, the beauty of nature, and twisted it into a source of pure terror. And the poem kicks off right here, with an image that feels like pure peace. You can almost feel it, right? The sun on your skin, the smell of summer grass. It's a classic, beautiful, pastoral scene. But here's the thing, this comfort, it's a total trap, and Owen is about to spring it. So we're going to trace the poem's journey through 5 key stages. We'll begin in that unnatural peace, then feel the tension build as the sky watches. From there, we'll plunge into the hell on earth of the attack, sit with the secret of survival, and finally, really get to grips with the modernist new reality that Owen helped create. All right, let's dive right into that first section. This is where Owen just masterfully builds up this illusion of safety, lulling both the soldiers and, us as readers, just before the slaughter begins. So think about it. He's not throwing us into battle. No, we're with soldiers just resting. They're in the shade of a last hill. There's a warm May breeze, golden buttercups at their feet. This is traditional romantic nature poetry, exactly what you'd expect. It's all designed to feel safe, but it is 100% an illusion. Okay, this slide right here, this gets to the absolute heart of Owen's revolution. See, the whole romantic tradition saw nature as this healing, almost divine force, a source of comfort. Owen sets us up to expect that, and then he just completely flips the script. He gives us this new, terrifyingly modernist view where nature is, at best, totally indifferent, and at worst, an active participant in the violence. And here it is, the very first crack in that peaceful facade. The breeze isn't just humming along, it has a waspish wing. That single word, waspish, injects this tiny drop of poison into the scene. It's a hint of menace, the promise of a sting, the pain that's hiding just under the surface of this beautiful day. So now, in this next stage, we see how that feeling of physical comfort starts to just dissolve. And what rushes in to replace it is this heavy psychological dread. The waiting begins. They know that just beyond that imminent line of grass, death is waiting for them. And this focus on the internal terror of waiting, instead of just the action of the battle itself, is a total hallmark of modernist war writing. For this moment, the real war is raging inside their heads. Even the sky itself becomes a source of dread. It's described as stark, blank, just an empty, indifferent void looking down. The sun isn't a warm, life-giving friend anymore. No, it's like an old friend you've had a falling out with, a silent, judging presence, just watching them get ready to die. And now, everything changes. A little word is spoken. the command to attack. The peace isn't just broken, it is annihilated in a single instant. With that one command, that illusion of a peaceful, pastoral world is just utterly shattered. That comfortable hillside transforms into the edge of an abyss. The sky isn't indifferent anymore. Now, it's actively hostile. It burns with fury against the very men it was just watching. It feels like nature has finally picked a side, and it's definitely not humanity's. Here we see the poem's central, absolutely terrifying idea come to life. The very ground the soldiers are running on starts to attack them. The gentle slopes they were resting on are now chasing them downhill into the slaughter. This image is it's devastating. The earth, which just a few moments ago was offering them buttercups, now opens up sudden cups to catch their blood. It's this grotesque parody of the Holy Grail, turning a symbol of life and salvation into a vessel for mass death. Nature is complicit in the horror. The charge is over. The fury dies down into a deafening silence. And a few men crawl back, having somehow survived the unsurvivable. They return to the cool, peaceful air of the world they left behind. But they are not the same. Not at all. They're physically safe, sure, but now they are completely isolated by what they've seen. They carry the secret knowledge of the hell that lies just on the other side of that hill. You see, their silence isn't really a choice. It's what we now call the trauma gap. That huge chasm between a horrific experience and the total inability of normal language to describe it. I mean, how do you explain to someone that the sky burned with fury and the earth literally drank your friend's blood? You can't. So, you stay silent. So let's bring this all together. With this poem, Owen didn't just write about the war. He created a new, brutal vocabulary for a new, brutal reality. He rewrote the rules. This table just crystallizes the poem's revolutionary impact. Where the old traditions saw a kind, benevolent nature, Owen saw an accomplice. Where it saw glorious heroism, Owen saw a madness. And where it saw noble sacrifice and death, Owen saw only a gruesome, anonymous end. He completely shattered the comforting lies. And that's why this matters so much. Spring Offensive isn't just about one battle. It's a perfect expression of the disillusionment, the trauma, and the alienation that would come to define the entire generation after World War I. It's really a key text for understanding the birth of our modern world. And the poem ends with this haunting question. It just hangs in the air, unanswered. The survivors don't speak because words fail. And in that silence, Owen leaves us with the true, unspoken horror of the war and the profound, unbridgeable gap between those who were there and the rest of us.